Yo, what's good everybody? It's your boy the Anime Ambo here, coming back at you with a brand new video and a brand new series, and a switch up from the animes that we usually do. This anime and this video is what if Bell was OP basically. Basically his stats are just overpowered. He's just crazy strong. Everybody, if you've watched, what is it called, Danmachi, or is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? If you've ever watched that anime, which I hope you do because it's great, but if you've ever watched that anime, you know, like, Bell is an adventurer, you know, he's in the Hestia family, all that jazz. And so, in this story, like, it takes a spin. Like, what if his stats were just crazy? What if he was just mad strong? What if he was OP? If you want to read the story for yourself, there's a link. I will link it in the top part of the description. The other link in the description links to Discord. I will separate them. You can, pick and choose which one you want to go to. I do suggest reading the story for yourself. Support the author, obviously. The story is called, by the way, The Legendary One. And, yeah, like I said, link in the description. And so, yeah, like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching the video and you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. I hope you guys enjoy the content on my channel. There's going to be new videos coming to you soon. Just new stuff and a lot to look forward to. And so I do hope you guys enjoy. And, yeah, without further ado, and I apologize for all the rambling that I do in these little intro things. But, it's important to let you guys know. But, without further ado, let's cue the intro and get right on into the video. Alright, so with the introductions and all that other jazz out of the way, let's just hop right on into the video. So before we, obviously I just said let's get into it, but before we get into it, there's an author's note, and it kind of describes to you the setting and the scenario of the story, so I'm going to read that to y'all. It says, after the death of his parents, Bell, at the tender age of 14, decides to follow their last wish, which was to become an adventurer. With that goal in mind, he journeys to Orario, where the world's greatest dungeon is set. This is his story and of the legend he became. Russian rebel and divergence from canon. Yikes. Hey guys, even the disclaimer tells us that the ending's a little rushed and the writing's tough, but we're just gonna send it. Alright. I looked up from my map and stared at the entrance of Orario, the labyrinth city. I let out a sigh while traveling, and I had even thought that I would never reach it. Well, that was after getting lost about 15 times, which was a given. Damn me and my sense of direction. I cursed under my breath. The trip from my village to Orario was supposed to take about 2 days, but thanks to my stupidly horrible sense of direction, it took 15 freaking days. Oh well, might as well get over it. I murmured quietly as I started to walk toward the huge arc that was the entrance of Orario. This seems like a Zorro trope, like, where, you can't like, find his way. You know how Zorro's always getting lost and, like, run the wrong way and get into a whole fight. That trope. But, yeah. The arc stood about 15 meters tall, surrounded by walls on both of its sides. It was the only way in and out of the city, unless you counted climbing over the walls, of course, but it would most likely prove to be impossible, since they were easily over 50 meters tall. Not to mention they were perfectly made, and there wasn't so much of a ledge to climb on. Wait. Giant Titan. How tall is the giant Titan? 60 meters tall. Alright, so he's just a little bit taller than Wall Maria. So it's just, this wall is a little bit smaller than Wall Maria. When I was one step from the arc, I looked up and admired the sheer height and power that it exuded. I could easily tell that this was no ordinary arc. It was covered with ancient scribblings, each of them exuding magic at an absurd rate. It wasn't man-made by any means. It was probably crafted by one of the higher gods long ago, such as the primordials. Primordials? I don't know. Before? Pre? I don't know. I took a step closer and analyzed some of its scribblings. The closest one to me seemed to be one that made it impossible for monsters to either enter or leave the city. A pretty high level spell, since it had no power to block a boss from the floors beyond 90. Damn. I took a step back and moved toward the entrance of the ark. I then took in a deep breath, closed my eyes, and passed through it. As I passed, I could feel a slight tickling all over my body. I ignored that, thinking it was some side effect of the adrenaline running through my veins. I then opened my eyes and took in a huge size of the city. I could see houses, markets, tents, banks, and everything piling up on the streets. People moving from one side to another, carrying on their daily duties, merchants announcing products, waiters inviting people into their respective restaurants, adventurers with swords, shields, lances, walking around and having fun. I took a deep breath. A sad yet accomplished smile started taking over my features. My eyes began to water out. Mom, Dad, I'm finally here, I thought as a tear ran down my left cheek. I then shook my head, getting rid of the tears. I had no time for mourning. I had to find a familia and quick. I then steeled my nerves, since I knew what awaited me. Long and painful hours of asking adventurers for a place in their family. After about 5 minutes of searching, which should have been about one, but with the messed up sense of direction, I finally found the nearest one. Took a deep breath and knocked on the door. At first, nothing happened, but soon I started hearing footsteps coming closer. The door was then forcefully opened, hitting the other side of the wall as a tall and fearsome-looking guy came out. He was easily over 6 feet tall, with a menacing scowl on his face and a shaven head with a bunch of battle scars. One could easily come to the conclusion that the man had seen countless battles. He then looked down at me and asked, "What do you want?" I then looked up, meeting his gaze, and said, "I wish to join your family." With his scowl never leaving his face, he took a step back, looked me up and down. I then held the urge to curse, since I already knew what his answer would be. I was hoping he would want to have a sparring match with me, but sadly, he chose to judge me by my outer appearance. Even though I was indeed quite strong and skillful, I looked nothing like it. I was small for a 14-year-old, only about 5'1". I had normal brown-colored hair with chocolate-colored eyes. I was thin and showed almost no sign of muscle. In other words, I didn't stand out at all. Instead of saying no, he placed his hand on the door handle and slammed it shut. A simple no would have sufficed. I murmured quietly under my breath. Oh well, that was to be expected. Either way, I'm sure I'll find a familia if I search for the whole day. I thought positively to myself and proceeded to walk to the next family. You must be freaking kidding me, I screamed out in exasperation. After spending 8 hours searching for a familia, not even one of them would propose a spar. I was hoping that there would be a familia experienced enough not to judge people by their appearance, but it seemed like I was hoping for too much. I then looked up at the night sky, taking in the position of the moon and the stars. I could tell that it was past midnight. Damn, seems like I'm really going to need to sleep in the street tonight, I thought grimly. And just as I was about to lay my head on the hard, cold ground, a feminine voice spoke up. Might you be looking for a familia, young adventurer? My eyes widened and my heartbeat increased. This has got to be some kind of delusion. It's ironic that someone would say that to me on this exact moment. This just ain't possible, I thought. I slowly turned my head around and looked at the owner of the voice. The moment I looked at the person, I knew it wasn't a delusion, because there was no freaking way that my brain would be able to come up with such an exquisite person. Exquisite. The vocabulary seems fine. Standing right in front of me was a woman like no other. She appeared to be in her mid to late teens. She had roundish blue eyes and light black hair tied in 2 twin tails. Her hair reached down to her mid-thigh, and 2 twin tails were held up in a bow, by bows that resembled white and blue flower petals. 2 rectangular bell-shaped ornaments, and she had a small frame, only about 4'2", which emphasized her rather. If y'all watch the anime, you know what this author's trying to say. Like, chi-chis. She was dressed on a white mini dress with a blue ribbon around her collar and one tied under her chi-chi around her arms. She also wore a pair of white gloves. Guys, after my experience with the Return of the Flash, God, I'll never forget that video. We're just gonna call them chi-chis, if anything. Like, I'm not gonna... Yeah. I don't want my videos to get taken down for inappropriate like something. I don't know. I don't know exactly how that works. I've never had a video taken down like that, but whatever. I couldn't come up with an answer as I was bedazzled by such a sight. She then repeated again, this time with the traces of annoyance in her voice. Might you be looking for a familia, young adventurer? I then came back to my senses and blinked a few times. I stood up and looked at her face to face. Yes, actually. A small smile crept around her face as she proceeded. What might thy name be? Belle Cranel. She then repeated my names a few times as if testing it, and finally said her own name. My name's Hestia, Belle-san. Since I wasn't too fond with formalities, I asked, can you drop the son? Her eyes widened only to narrow. So, how about Belkun? I'm not saying that, by the way. That's the only time you're going to hear me call him that. I smiled. Perfect. Hestia then extended her hands and said, so, Belle, would you like to be part of my family? I took her hand and said, it would be a pleasure, my goddess. That's what they are. They're gods and goddesses, and they run families in this story. And then they send they call them children, and they send them off to the dungeons to go fight, make money. Yeah. What a clever, whoever thought of this is a genius. She smiled. The pact is now sealed, dear adventurer. As her words were let out of her mouth, I felt a surge of magic entering my fingers and extending throughout my body. It was a blissful feeling. The magic then stopped traveling through my body and headed to my back. I could feel as it concentrated there, truly sealing the pact. Hestia then smiled again. So, shall we get going, Belle? My smile, which had been on my face since the pact, grew even wider. Yes. I haven't made a decision on if I'm going to keep saying goddess or not. I don't know. Maybe if I make a mistake, I'll say it. If I don't, I won't. That's probably how it's gonna go with the coon thing. I don't like it. Just be making you cringe, man. A little bit. You know. My bad. Let's get back into the video. So, Belle, how about it? Hestia asked as she pointed to a church who had seen better days. At first, I was surprised by the fact that a goddess lived in such a place, but quickly shook it off because I remembered something that my parents had once told me. When I was 5 years old, they were already preparing me for being an adventurer, and one day they said, Belle, not all gods are rich. Even though most gods do live in a huge mansion and castle, those with few family members don't have a source of income, so they normally live in abandoned buildings. Belle, I asked if you liked your new house, Hestia repeated. I then came to my senses. It's pretty, how can I say it? I then answered, I know, it's pretty welcoming. Hestia smiled at that. Oh yeah, I remembered something. Hestia, how many members are in your family? I asked. Hestia looked down at the question and murmured something. Since I couldn't hear what she said, I asked again. Come again? She repeated again, this time a little louder, but still not enough for me to hear. I asked again, could you say it a bit louder? At that, she snapped. You're my only family member, she screamed. My eyes widened. I had no idea that I was the only member of her family. Sorry, I didn't know that. I apologized. Hestia regained her composure and said, no, sorry, I shouldn't have snapped like that. I only nodded. Hestia, trying to break the silence, said, how about we go in? I smiled and said, perfect. Hestia then opened the door and motioned for me to come in. I followed immediately. I couldn't wait to see a bed or a couch. Damn, if it had some kind of cushion, it would do. Inside the church, there was really nothing to note. It almost didn't have decorations on the inside, with just a door on the far end. And I kind of like that. I prefer to keep things simple. She then walked ahead of me and once again opened the door. Before she could motion for me to follow, I was already a few steps in. Or a few steps from it. Ooh. My bad, guys. Where are we? Oh my gosh, I just lost the spot. Where did we go? Oh, there we go. The room, like the rest of the church, was fairly simple. On one bed on the left side of the room and a couch on the right, some small tables here and there. Like the previous chamber, it had no decorations whatsoever. Hestia then caught my attention by coughing a bit. I looked at her, waiting for her announcement. Belle, you will be staying on the couch. Do you have any objections? I just shook my head, while thinking it was strange for her to be so direct and formal. She probably had something important to say. She then continued. Belle, technically you're not part of my family yet. Even though I'm sure you must have felt magic flowing through your body the moment we shook hands, that was just the first step. Now, I need you to take your shirt off and get on the bed. Guys, this is not... Don't think like that. Y'all some dirties. Y'all some dirty nasties. I nodded and proceeded. When I was done, I folded it and placed it on top of the couch. Then walked to the bed and sat on it. "What now, Hestia?" "Lay down on the bed with your back facing the ceiling," she answered as she too walked towards the bed. If you guys watch the anime, just gonna spoil it because they're about to tell you. Like, she's gonna check this guy's stats, which, like, are gonna be pretty crazy. Because obviously, this story is, what if Belle was OP? Like, I swear. Yes, that is the story. That's the title. So that's what it is. I then did as I was told. Let's get back on in. Sometimes I do that where I'll just hop right on into the video and, like, not tell you, like, oh, let's get back on it. No. Alright, now let's get back on in. I felt some weight on my back. I turned my head around to see Hestia on top of me. Hestia, what are you doing?" I inquired. Hestia, without even taking her eyes off my back, answered, "Completing the familia ritual." I understood that she would not say anything else, so I simply nodded. At first, the only thing I felt were her cold hands on my back, but then slowly but surely my back started getting warmer and warmer and warmer, and it didn't stop. By each passing second, it would heat up considerably. 20 seconds later, and I couldn't bear it anymore. I started to scream. "Ah, this freaking hurts!" I screamed in immense pain, startling Hestia. "Bear with it for a while, Belle. It's gonna end soon," she answered as the heat got even higher. For the next 20 seconds, all I did was scream and swear words out one after another, but then all of a sudden, the pain stopped. "Huh?" I asked, surprised by the lack of pain. "The hard part's over," Hestia answered quickly. "Now, let's see your stats." Soon after she said that, I heard a gasp, and another, and another, and another. Well, in total, there were 9 consecutive gasps. After making sure she was finished gasping, I asked, "Are my stats that good or that bad?" I never heard of this," Hestia murmured under her breath. "Such stats, impossible." "Please, Hestia, just tell me already," I asked, a little impatient. She then took a deep breath. "Okay, they're as followed. Strength, SSSS, so 4S, 1750. Endurance, 4S, 1659. Dexterity, 5S, 2157. Dang, dexterity's high. Agility, 4S, 1972. Magic, 3S, 1200. Luck, double S, 1045. Dang, he is lucky, but also not at the same. It's weird, because compared to the rest of the stats, he's not lucky, but then it's like, he is lucky. What is dexterity usually like? What does dexterity change? Like, I want to know, like, affects attacking speed. Oh, so basically he can hit a lot of attacks, usually. Apparently, by the way, everyone else in the series gets a little boost. I don't know how big the boost is, but yeah. Since I didn't know what normal stats for a starter or how how its ranking worked, I asked, "Are they good?" "Good? Good? Are you kidding me? They're impossible. I've never heard of a stat over SSS." Hestia answered with a trace of various emotions in her voice. I could discern fear, admiration, awe, but there were much more. At that, a grin appeared on my face. "Well, how good is it compared to normal stats?" "Well, you're easily 100 times stronger than a rather strong level 2 adventurer," she answered. I let out a whistle. Finally, something good had happened to me. I then remembered something. "Do I have any skills?" Hestia nodded. "But before I tell you them, I suggest you stand up," she said as she also stood up, taking the weight off of my back and allowing me to do the same. When I was about to sit up, I noticed something. Was I always this far from my legs? I thought as I looked at the distance between my legs and me. I then noticed something. My abdomen, which used to be completely plain, now had a really defined six-pack. "What the hell? This is amazing," I thought as I touched my abs. As I admired my new body, I noticed another thing. My arms were bigger, and I had more muscle. I quickly directed my head to my bicep to see it was much larger and more defined. "Oh, this is awesome," I screamed mentally. I turned around and asked Hestia about that, only to find her drooling. When she saw that I had noticed, she straightened herself up. "What?" she asked. "What happened to my body?" Well, the second step of the family ritual involves stat updating. Sorry, guys, I just had to check the video. Where are we? Oh, there we go. Stat updating lets you use the experience you gathered throughout your day at the dungeon or throughout your life, in your case, to better your body. Sorry, guys. In other words, it fully unleashes your hidden potential. Your body was supposed to be like that, but it seemed that something was blocking it from evolving, and the ritual tore up that lock. In most cases, the transformation is minimal, but because of your lock, it was extremely massive. Hestia answered matter of factly. Oh, I get it. Do we only stat up when we join a family? Normally, we gods stat up our adventurer each 2 trips to the dungeon. I see. Thanks. I couldn't really speak more since I was really perplexed with the new body. Now, can you get up? She asked again. Sure, I answered while getting off the bed and standing up. The moment I stood up, I noticed something strange. I was much taller than Hestia. Was she always this small? At that moment, I knew something. Alright, I need a mirror. Hestia, do you have a mirror here? Yeah, she said as she pointed at the door on a wall opposite to the sofa. I quickly ran there and turned on the light. When I saw my reflection in the mirror, I almost had a heart attack. My plain, boring brown hair had turned white and my eyes a scarlet color, like the Sharingan. I was also a few inches taller, about 5'6" now. It was a big contrast to my previous height, which was 5'1". I couldn't contain my excitement. I was always regarded as a plain-looking guy, but now had outstanding characteristics. But now it was a whole other case. With now outstanding characteristics, but now it was a whole other case. I was really tall for a 14-year-old, with an extremely solid build, white hair, and crimson eyes. I couldn't have ever imagined me like this. Before I could analyze my new body, I heard Hestia calling me. I then got out of the bathroom and walked into the bedroom, standing a couple feet away from her. Belle, do you remember I have yet to tell you about your skills? My eyes widened. I was so absorbed with the new body that I had completely forgotten about that part. You have 2 skills. Both are unheard of with no records in history. That part caught my interest. Your skills are called Rapidum Incrementum, which basically is just an increased growth rate, so his stats go up faster. And then the other skill is called Terminum Restriction. Basically, you can limit the amount of power he uses. Why would I need to restrict my power, I asked. Currently, you're way too powerful, so if you were to use your full strength in the first level, there's a good chance that you would destroy the whole floor, catching the god's attention, and believe me, you don't want that. At that, I was confused. What bad would come of catching the god's attention? It would just raise the family reputation. Hestia noticed my questioning glare and said, well, normally on the back, it only shows your stats, skills, and magic. You show an extra one. Race. Race? Don't tell me I'm not human. Far from. Adventurers whose backs show races, its race is written on its own language. The problem is that I don't know the language yours is written in. What do you not knowing have to do with any of it? Belle, I know over 3,000 languages. I'm one of the most ancient active gods in existence. I am Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades' sister. I know each language that existed or was created after I was born, and even languages from millennia before. The fact that I can't read your race means it's really ancient. So the bad part about it being ancient is that in most cases, the older the race, the stronger it is. Since today's races only retain a small part of the power when compared to its ancestors, since yours dates back to more than 1 millennium before the Olympians, to most gods it will mean trouble, and they'll try to slaughter you. Well, can't say I like being slaughtered, I said as a shiver was sent down my spine. So in order to not draw attention, you must not use your full power, she finished. Okay, but how do I activate the limit thingy? Well, as far as I can decipher, you must say limit set X, in which X is the percentage of your power. As such, if you say limit set 3, you'll only be able to use 3% of your power. So how much of my power do you think I should use? I think that when you're alone, you should use 2, but when you're with parties, you should use 0.75, a 75th of a point, 1/75th of a percent. And his stats are only going to grow as he levels up. Just think about that, guys. This is what I'm saying. This is what we've been looking for. This is OP. This is just OP. And that's okay. Listen. Alright. You know, I'm one of those guys that's like, if a story starts out and he's regular, I don't want him to become OP, go through some struggles. But bro, this is so convenient. Like, Bella's just OP, and that's cool because he's just gonna be wrecking everything, and that's fine. Okay, it's cool to enjoy stuff like this because this is cool. You know it's cool. That's why you be watching the videos. Shoot, that's exactly why. Because it's cool. I think it's cool too. So don't worry about it. With only 0.75, you would be equal to a decent level 2 adventure. With 2, you would be an experienced level 2 to level 3 adventure. Oh, I see. That made sense. Percent alone ought to be more than enough. Oh, Bill, one more thing. You can only change your limit once every 5 hours, so use it wisely. I nodded. It made sense for such a skill to have a cooldown. Now, I'm really tired. I'm gonna sleep. I suggest you do the same. I nodded and got onto the couch. I didn't know why, but the moment I hit the couch, I fell asleep immediately. Probably because of all that had happened that day. Boom. In this story, there are 13 chapters. And each chapter seems pretty sizable. And this chapter was a 23-minute read. So, with that out of the way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I hope you look forward to new videos from me. There is new stuff, new Return of the Flash, new Naruto Uchiha, new Naruto New Beginnings. If you guys like this, maybe we do more. I would like to do more, actually. I hope this video kind of does good because I want to keep reading. Also, I really like the thumbnail I made for it, so I hope it does good. Because the thumbnail is pretty dang cool. What's it called? Yeah, bro, I'm not gonna say all that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Story link in the description. It's called The Legendary One again. And Discord link in the description. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you're looking forward to new, better quality videos. And yeah. Just like, comment, subscribe. And without further ado, this is your boy the Anime Abu, and I'm out. Deuces. Road outro.